Hi, beautiful butterflies. So today we have another fun experiment activity that we're gonna get to do together, okay? But before we begin, I wanted to explain why we're gonna be doing this. So first, let's talk about the season that's coming up really soon. So remember, the season that we were talking about before was what? What season are we actually currently in? Spring. That's right. It's the spring season. And once spring ends, it's going to be summer. Summer is so much fun. And when it's summer, we get to play in the water. We get to go swimming or go on boat rides sometimes, or we'll go into the ocean, right? There's so many fun things that we can do with water in the summer. So think about water. Now, let's say you were on a boat. Boats do what? They go on the water, right? They're like vehicles that ride on the water instead of on the land or in the sky like an airplane. And what does the boat do? Let's say this is the water, okay? And here's our boat sitting on the water, right? Does the boat stay on top of the water or does it go all the way down? The boat stays on top. That's right. So boats do something called floating. Okay, floating is when you can sit on the water without going all the way down to the bottom. Now, when certain items get filled with water, or if they're too heavy, sometimes they'll do something called sinking. And sinking is when you go down below the water, all the way down to the bottom, right? So there's floating. If you're sitting on top of the water and you're not sinking down, and sinking is when you can't sit on the water and you float and you go all the way down below, and that's called sinking, when you sink down to the bottom of the water. Okay, so today we're going to be doing a really fun experiment with all kinds of different items, and you guys are going to get to try this too. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be searching around my house for different items. I'm going to see what I can find. Hopefully we'll be able to get some things that are going to sink, which means they're going to go all the way down to the bottom of the water, and other things that are going to float, which means they're going to sit and rest at the top. So it's going to be a really fun experiment, and I hope you guys enjoy and will get the chance to try it yourself. Now, something really important to remember, once we complete our experiment and you guys get to try it yourselves, when you're looking around your house for your items, get creative, find all kinds of really cool things. But something really important to remember is to make sure that you check in and ask mommy or daddy for permission to use certain things that you'll get to test in our sinking experiment, our sinking or floating experiment. Because sometimes certain items aren't meant to be put in water, and if we put them in water, what's gonna happen? It might get ruined, right? So let's make sure that we're really careful and that we ask for permission before we test certain items, okay guys? So let's go and look for things that we can find around the house, and then I'm going to be doing my experiment, and then you'll get to do yours. All right, have fun. Okay, butterflies, so I just went and looked around my house for a bunch of different items that I'm going to test with you guys to see if they're going to sink or float. So sinking is when something goes into the water and lands all the way at the bottom. Okay, floating is when you put something in the water and it sits on the top, just like this. So can you tell? So see, if you were floating, you would just sit on the top of the water. And if you sink, you go all the way down to the bottom, okay? So now we're gonna test some items to see if they're gonna sink or float. So I'm gonna show you the items that I have first. So the things that I've collected, I got this. This is a toy that was from our classroom. These are the gears that we play with. So that's something I'm gonna be testing. I also have, who can tell me what this is? A marker, you're right. And what color is it? Blue, that's correct, okay. And then I'm gonna also test this. What does this look like to you? I'll give you a hint. You use it to paint. It's a paintbrush. Okay, and then another item that we're going to be testing is, who can tell me what this is? Can you see this? This, if you don't know already, is called a paper clip. This is something that you use to put on your paper to keep it together. We're going to test that item as well. This over here, I have some cut up pieces of pipe cleaners. We're going to try that. And what is this? What do you think this is? A rock. That's right. We're going to try the rock. And then I also collected a small piece of tin foil. So we're going to test that. And I also have some hair bands. We'll try that. And then on this side, I got some other things. I wanted to try a lot of different things with you guys so we can really see what sinks and what floats. This is called either a popsicle stick or a tongue depressor. All right, so we're gonna try that. I also have chapstick. I've gathered, can you tell what these are? Beads. We're gonna try beads. This over here is actually technically a chapstick, but we're going to use it just as a little ball. We're going to test to see if it floats or sinks. And then I have tweezers and pom-poms or cotton balls. And I have, what are these called? Can you tell? Q-tips, you're right. And then for the last thing, I've gathered some coins. So I have a quarter. This is a quarter. The biggest one is a quarter. And then I have a dime. This is a dime. And a penny. And lastly, I have a nickel. So these are the items that we're going to be testing now. Okay? So let's do it together. You're going to tell me if you notice, so if it sits at the top, if it's just sitting at the top, it is floating. But if it goes all the way down to the bottom, it sinks. Okay? So let's see. I'm going to try first this gear. Let's see. Does it sink or float? Take a look. So did it touch the bottom of the water? The bottom is over here. This is the bottom. Is it sitting at the top of the water or did it go down to the bottom? It's floating. That's right. So this we found floats. Okay, one item down. Now let's try the marker. All right, let's see. Do you think this is gonna sink or float? Sink to the bottom or float on the top? I'm not sure either. Let's find out. Ooh. Look at that. What's it doing? Is it sinking or floating? It's floating because it's at the top of the water. This is the bottom where what the tip of my finger is, but up here, this is where it's floating. Wow, so far, 2 items that we tried floated. Okay. Now we're gonna try the paintbrush. Let's see, what's it gonna do? What is this one doing? Is it sinking or floating? It is floating, that's right. Wow, 3 out of 3 so far. Okay, let's see what the next item's gonna do. I have the rock here. I'm not sure, it's pretty heavy, but like a boat, boats are heavy and they can stay afloat. So let's see, what's it gonna do? Ooh. Uh-oh. What happened this time? Is it sitting at the top of the water? Or did it sink to the bottom? It's at the bottom. That means it sunk. Wow, okay, our first sunken item. Okay, now let's test our paper clips. All right, I'll put 2 in here. Let's see, I hope you can see it in the video. Well, it's hard to tell, but it's not sitting at the top. Take a look. see that? It's all the way at the bottom. All right, so paper clips, they sunk. All right, let's try another item. Now we've got our, what are these? Remember? Pipe cleaners. Okay, let's test them. Ready? Oh. Wow, did you see that? Let's try that again. I have another one. Take a look. When I put it at the top, it's floating. But then, once it absorbs all the water, it becomes too heavy, so it sinks down to the bottom. So it floats for a second and then it sinks. That's pretty interesting. I wonder if we have any other items here that might do that as well. Okay, remember what this is? Aluminum foil or tin foil. Let's try this. So all I did was, all I did with this one was fold it up. You could crumple it in a ball too if you want, but let's try it. Let's see. I'm gonna drop it in the water. Let's see what happens. What's it doing? You see it right here? Is that sinking or floating right now? It's floating because it's sitting on the top of the water. Wow, interesting. Okay, now I'm gonna try my hair tie. Let's see what this one does. You see it? So it looks like the hair tie floats. It's kind of tricky to see, but that's why I'm moving it around for you. But see, even when I press it, what's it doing? It's still staying at the top. Okay, interesting. Now we're gonna try the popsicle stick. Okay, let's see what happens. Ooh. What's it doing? Did it go all the way down to the bottom? Ooh. See it? It's floating. We've got a lot of items here that float. Let's see if we can find something that's gonna sink now. I have some beads. Let's try that. I'm putting 3 beads. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Ooh, that's kind of funny. Let's take a look at this. What do you see? So we have 3 beads here. 1 looks like it's at the bottom, and 2 are sitting at the top. That's kind of tricky. I wonder if maybe 1 went down to the bottom because maybe that one was the heaviest, and maybe the other 2 are a bit lighter, and maybe that's why they're floating. Ooh, I don't know. It just went, now they're all 3 are floating. This is super tricky. Maybe it got filled up with water a little bit and it held it down to the bottom. Sometimes things can float until they sink, or vice versa. You never know. Okay, now we're gonna try my chapstick. Let's see what this does. Here we go. Oop, like a boat. It's floating. Wow, how interesting. Okay, now we're gonna try, what's this called? A Q-tip. Okay, let's see what this does. Looks like Q-tips float also. All right. Does it sting? I wonder if it gets more water, if it'll end up going down to the bottom. Let's give it a few seconds to see. Ooh, you see it's starting to tip. Half of the Q-tips on the bottom, the other half was up top. And now because it absorbed with water, you see that? It went down to the bottom. Interesting. Another item that floats at first and then sinks. All right, let's see what else we've got. We've got a few more items here to try. My tweezers. Let's see what that does. Here we go. Oh, where'd that go? Straight to the bottom. So is that sinking or floating? Is it floating on top of the water, or did it sink down to the bottom? Yep, it sunk all the way down to the bottom. Okay, there we go. We've got another sunken item. Okay, now we're gonna try the pom-poms. These are kind of tricky. Let's think about this. So remember when we had the Q-tips, what did they do at first? Did they sink right away or did they float first at the top and then sink down? They floated and then they sunk down. Now, we said it probably happened like that because they have cotton on the sides and the cotton got absorbed, and I guess that's how it got heavier. The water absorbed into the cotton and made the item heavier, which is how it sunk to the bottom. So this is a cotton ball. I wonder if that might do the same thing or if it will surprise us and float. Let's find out. Ready? 1, 2, 3. What do you know? What's it doing? Is it sitting at the top or is it floating? Yep, it's not on top of the water. If it was, it would look like this. It sunk down, but it took maybe half a second for it to collect all the water and then float all the way down. Float and then sink all the way down to the bottom. Okay, now we're going to try. I'm going to squeeze out the juice, the water in here, and I'm going to put that to the side. Now we're going to try this ball-shaped chapstick, but we're just using it as a ball. Let's see, I wonder, it has a flat base here and a round top, so I don't know. Will it act like a boat and float, or is it going to sink down because it's heavy? Let's find out. Ooh, tricky. I think, let's see, did it touch the bottom? Is it touching the bottom? Let's see, I'll bring you closer. Nope, it looks like it's kind of floating, but because it's pretty heavy, most of the weight is below the water, but it's still floating. And if the water level was higher, it would probably not be so close to the bottom. Okay, wow. This is very interesting. Okay, now our last items that we have here are the coins. I have the quarter, the dime, the nickel, and the penny, okay? So we're gonna do one at a time, and we're gonna have them all in there at the same time so you guys can see. I wonder if some coins are gonna float and others sink, or if they're all gonna do the same thing. Let's see. Ready? So I'll start with the penny. Ready? Watch. Ooh, you don't see it at the top, right? That means it's at the bottom, and I'll show you in a minute. So that means if it's sitting at the bottom, is it floating or sinking? It's sunk. It's sinking to the bottom, and now all right, now we have the quarter. Okay, let's try this. Let's see. Oh, look at that. We've got 2 coins at the bottom now. All right, now 2 more to go. We've got the dime and the nickel left. Let's see what the dime does. Another one, and it sunk pretty quickly, right? All right, last one. What do you think this is gonna do? All 3 coins sunk to the bottom. Do you think that the nickel is gonna stay afloat, or do you think this one's gonna sink too? Let's see. Oh, ta-da! Take a look. All of our coins here have sunk to the bottom. And look at that, isn't that interesting? The reflection is showing us the coins on top, even though they're actually at the bottom. But you can see a double image at the top because of the reflection of the water. All right, beautiful butterflies. I hope that you enjoyed this experiment. Feel free to try it at home and see what items you can gather. But remember, make sure to ask mommy or daddy if it's okay to use certain things, because you don't want to get something wet that shouldn't be wet. It might ruin certain things. So make sure before you test this experiment out that you check with mommy and daddy and make sure it's okay. I hope you guys had fun, and I can't wait to see what your results are going to be. Will it sink or will it float? Who knows? Bye.